Our theme for this month is nourishment. And I can hardly think of nourishment without thinking of food, which makes me hungry and distracted, thinking about what I'm going to make for dinner. When I think of nourishment, I think of having people over and feeding them, or being invited into someone else's home and being fed. And as an adult, I'm thrilled. But as a child, I felt a sense of dread because I was a picky eater. Any other picky eaters in the house? Not only was I blessed or cursed with a strong sense of smell, I was also very stubborn. I did not like being told what to do or what to like or how to feel. I did not like my parents' rules. I did not like them, Sam I am. At my grandmother's house, we had a rule. And that rule was the no thank you helping rule. A child of the Great Depression, she did not do waste. And she did not allow for picky grandchildren. We didn't have to like it, whatever it was, and we didn't have to eat a lot, but we had to try. I hated this rule. And thank God for my grandmother and her no thank you helping rule, which I've discovered that Scott Grant Smith's family calls a TasteAdventure. Did I get that right?
That's right.
So you didn't have to only try it once. You had to try it at Sunday dinner a couple times a month, whatever it was, a little bit, pretty often, until you either liked it or you were so sure that you didn't, and you had years of pulling faces at the table as proof. And something I learned was this. Maybe this story I tell myself about myself isn't true. Maybe I could see, maybe I've changed, or something has changed me. Maybe I've grown. Maybe my taste buds have changed. I don't know, at the age of 7 or 12 or 15 or whenever they say that your palate shifts. Does somebody know when that is? I don't. Anyway, sometime. You know what I mean? Have you been there? Have you come around on something? Because I think of myself as someone who knows what she likes and knows what she wants and knows what she doesn't like, and sometimes I've been wrong. So our story this morning, beautifully rendered by Julie, has our very picky protagonist refusing to try green eggs and ham. And the more they're offered, the more he refuses. The more Sam I Am hypes up this meal, the more our protagonist digs in his heels and says, no. He says, I don't eat them. I don't do that. I don't like them. I won't try it. No, 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 no. I have been this guy. Any of y'all been this guy? And then finally Sam I Am says, I'm imagining here, this is my favorite food. Have you tried it? Have you tried? And because I think this book was written to convince picky children to try food at the table, to no one's surprise, the protagonist changes his mind. I'll tell you my own Sam I Am story. I am not really a meditator. I try sometimes. I go through phases. I have downloaded the app on my phone. I think to myself, gosh, I really could get into meditating. I know some people who really like it. Even just 15 minutes a day. I could really get into that. I don't do it. But in my final year of seminary, I worked as a chaplain in the psychiatric emergency room of a hospital in New York City. My job was to provide spiritual care to all manner of despondent and traumatized people. So during our chaplaincy training on Monday afternoons, we had a group where we talked together about our experiences at work and all the feelings that came up for us. So the work was hard, absolutely. But bearing my soul and my sorrows to a room full of colleagues was immeasurably harder. I was a skilled and a careful chaplain, but I cried every Monday for a year. And my buddy Michael, who was also in this group, was super into meditating. So we would leave a 3-hour session of intense vulnerability, a whole group full of emotional and spiritual work, and we would be exhausted. And we didn't want to talk anymore when the group was over, but we were both way too extroverted to be alone. So we went off to the chapel, and we sat in silence for 30 minutes every Monday for that whole year. And I would definitely not have done it alone. But let me tell you something, it restored my soul. And it was because Michael invited me into his practice. He was basically my tour guide, my host, my chef, my Sam I Am. He taught me about why it was important to him and the times in his life when this meditation practice turned him inside out. He basically gave me a no thank you helping of meditation every Monday. He took me on a taste adventure. And I am the stronger for it, and the richer, and the wiser. And I am grateful. Before we get any further into spiritual nourishment, we have to turn to the news briefly, because the world out there is also in here and it makes demands of us. I want to be very clear, because the news these past few weeks has been full of allegations of sexual assault coming up like daisies against powerful people, mostly men, in Hollywood and in politics. I feel it incumbent upon me to say this is not a sermon about doubting your intuition or your gut, or about giving the benefit of the doubt to someone who makes you afraid. As a mentor of mine has told me, when you hear a ping, believe it. So I'm speaking today about foods and about hymns and poems and worship, about spiritual practice, about telling ourselves bigger and more generous and more inclusive stories about ourselves, about what we like and about what we know. But too many of us are taught to doubt our intuition about our own safety, and the cost is high. Generosity and hospitality, the giving of ourselves that nourishes us, these are only real when they're freely given and freely chosen. To put this another way, your gut knows, your body knows about your allergies and your poisons. So when I say to you, think about some things you might not like that you might be willing to try, I'm not suggesting that you let in your allergies or your poisons. I'm inviting you to come with me today to explore the stories we tell ourselves about our habits and our preferences. Sometimes we say a careless no, like the green eggs and ham guy. No, I don't want to think about it. No, I haven't tried it. No, you don't really look like someone I should listen to. No, I don't feel like it. But other times we say a holy no. No, you can't touch me. No, what you did was wrong. No, you can't keep me quiet. No, you can't make me afraid. Hold on to the holy no. The holy no is important, and if you need it, it is yours. Are you with me? Can you hear the difference clearly between the holy no and the careless no? Because this is so important that I'd throw all the rest of these papers out and talk about this for another, I don't know, however many minutes. Yeah. Okay. So today we're going to think about the careless no. The unexamined no. The TasteAdventure. The no thank you helping. I was so annoyed by the no thank you helping, and I'm so grateful for it now because I became an adult empowered to try new things. Though my palate maybe is not as sophisticated as I would have hoped, I became a person who was able to try. And I am thankful for the discipline of trying and for the standing invitation to the table. Do you know what they say in youth group about trying things or different preferences? Does anybody know what often ends up in a UU youth group covenant? Okay, I'll tell you. The phrase is, don't yuck my yum. And what it means is, don't rain on somebody's parade. Don't dampen somebody's enthusiasm. Every food is somebody's favorite. Every hymn, every song, every different ritual is the thing, potentially, that you don't like that much, that changed somebody's life. Don't mean for this to sound like a pop quiz, but we're going to really take a tour here. We're going to look at the 6 sources of Unitarian Universalism, and I wonder if you can shout out to me what some of them are. And if you don't know, that's okay, but take a crack at it. Wisdom from the world's traditions. That's principles. We're doing sources. I know, 7 sources and 6 principles. We got a lot to learn. 7 principles and 6 sources. Thanks, Scott. Okay, so we got wisdom from the world's religious traditions. What else?
Christian and Jewish.
Yep, Judeo-Christian heritage and scripture. What else? Yes, prophetic words and deeds of people who came before us. What else? That falls under... What'd you say? We've got the wisdom of earth-centered traditions. I think what you've suggested falls under wisdom from world traditions.
What about science?
Yes, humanist teachings and scientific discovery. And I'll tell you, it is the direct experience of transcendent mystery and wonder. Okay, so that's a lot. You may not personally have a deep and profound spiritual experience that checks each of those boxes. I know that I don't. You may lean more heavily towards some than others, and which ones have meant the most to you may have shifted over your life. Have you heard people who are really into vegetables talking about eating the rainbow? Yeah, eating the rainbow. So what eating the rainbow means is that you want on your table and on your plate as many colors as possible because they represent all the many, many nutrients that are available to us from the natural world. A healthy diet is multicolored and varied. A healthy spiritual community is the same. So, What does this mean for us as a spiritual and religious community? I think it means that the thing that you might not really like or know or be used to could be the thing that saved somebody's life. It is the song they listened to on the way to their radiation appointments. It is the poem they read to their mother long after her powers of speech had fled and only her hearing remained. It was a childhood prayer. Every hymn could be somebody's favorite hymn. Every food could be somebody's favorite food. We eat the rainbow here, spiritually. And that means we make some sacrifices and some adjustments. No one's going to be happy all the time. I will tell you that all of our hymns today are ones that I either did not grow up with, do not know very well, or don't really like all that much. I won't tell you which one's which. But I will never stand in a pulpit and ask you to live into something difficult while I go sit in my office and smoke a cigar. So, here is my challenge to you. Are you ready for it? Yes. Are you ready for it? When you next encounter a hymn or a song or a prayer or a ritual or a word that isn't comfortable to you, not that it's harmful, but it isn't to your taste, I want you to ask yourself this question. What does this do for my neighbor? Will you say that with me? What does this do for my neighbor? Did this get my neighbor through the night? Did this get my neighbor through the night? Because the stakes are high, and the world is wide and aching. And I think that we spiritually can eat the rainbow. I think we can do it. I think we cannot toss the baby out with the bathwater, as they say, particularly as it relates to things that sound a little traditional. I think we can embrace things that are new also. I think we can respect that something that's holy to me might not be holy to you, but that my nourishment is important to you, as yours is to me and to each other. I don't have to understand why you recite that one psalm you remember from childhood every night before you sleep. I do have to honor that it's important to you. You don't have to understand why your neighbor wakes up to see the sunrise every day, for instance, but when you hear them out there before the birds, bustling around, you might wonder, what is it? What is it that feeds them? You might wonder, is it the promise of sunrise that gets them through the night? Maybe you'll turn a careless no into a no thank you helping. Maybe you'll see it as a taste adventure. May it be so, and amen. Will you rise in body or in spirit for our closing song, number 39, Amar es entregarse, love is giving.